what's up, and welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to be giving a review for the movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now this is based on the Miles Morales version of the character and not the Peter Parker version. Now the Peter Parker does fit into the story, but the bulk of the film is really focused on the character of Miles Morales. Oh yeah, and the theater I went to, my local theater, they was giving out these Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse cards, right, as you can see. Sorry, it's kind of dark, yeah. But yeah, they gave out these kind of cards, you know. I just was going to open them up, see what kind of cards they gave me. Oh, okay. And of course, I didn't get Spider-Man. I got, they gave me Gwen Stacy, the Green Goblin, and Penny Parker. Ooh, okay. So yeah, it had like 3 cards in here. That's kind of cool. Now in this Spider-Man universe, the character of Miles Morales, he does know that like a Peter Parker Spider-Man, well not Peter Parker, well it is the Peter Parker version, but it is actually a Spider-Man in his particular dimension, you know. Because I think like in the comics, I think it was kind of different if I'm not mistaken, that Miles Morales, he was actually in a whole nother dimension, you know. But in this particular dimension that he's in, there is like an actual like Peter Parker Spider-Man, so I thought that was kind of, you know, confusing because I thought it was kind of different like in the comic books, because I'm not too familiar with like the story of Miles Morales, you know. But at one point in the story, Miles is bitten by a spider, just like Peter Parker is too as well, you know. He gains the powers and abilities of a spider, you know. Because one of the things that was kind of odd about it, once he's bitten by the spider, he actually does get the abilities of the spider, and he realizes that he has become like a new Spider-Man, you know. So that's one of the things that was kind of, you know, interesting about it. But at the same time, he learns that there are other people, even like creatures, you could say, to a certain extent, who have these same spider abilities, you know, and they are from like different like universes, or you could say like different dimensions, you know. And it turns out that it's actually like Kingpin who's actually opening these portals to all these various like different like dimensions and universes and so on, which has all these different like versions of Spider-Man, you know. So of course Miles Morales, he has to come up and team up with these his fellow allies, you know, to take out the Kingpin. So that's basically what the plot of the film itself is about, you know. But you have like the usual like relationship problems and so on and all that throughout the film. Now the film itself is actually superb as far as like animation goes. It looks cool. Now I do believe at times this can be kind of like hard on the eyes too as well. It's kind of hard like to watch, you know, because it's moving so like fast and quick, you know. And I believe like the visuals can kind of mess with your eyes, probably even give you motion sickness if you're not careful, but it does look really cool, you know. Now this film has 3 directors. You have Peter Ramsey, Rodney Rothman, and I think Bob Persichetti, I think that's how you pronounce it. So you have like 3 directors on board with this film, you know. Now the stars of the film are Shameik Moore, or it could be Shameik, I'm not too sure, who voices Miles Morales Spider-Man, and you have Jake Johnson who voices Peter Parker Spider-Man. You also have Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy, who is Spider-Woman, you know. You have Tyree Henry as Jefferson Davis Morales, who is Miles Morales' father. Lee Tomlin as May Parker. Nicolas Cage as Peter Parker Spider-Man Noir, like the Noir version of Spider-Man. He voices that version. You have Leo Schreiber as Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. He's also the antagonist of the film, and the one that the heroes have to take out, you know. Now the film does have like some interesting characters too. I think the character of Jefferson Davis, like the police officer who is actually Miles' father, I think he's an interesting character, you know. I thought he was like the way they actually had developed him in the story itself, as he has like a close relationship with Miles, and he wants Miles to do this and that and do this and that, like stay in school and so on. I think that's kind of cool, you know. I like that kind of like chemistry that they have. You also have the uncle Aaron Davis, and he's the uncle of Miles Morales, and he's the one who actually takes Miles like into the subway where he's actually bitten by the spider, you know. I thought his character is pretty interesting too as well, you know. It's like a spoiler alert with him in the film, but I'm not going to really go into it, you know. Something happens with his character, you know. But I thought those 2 characters right there were pretty interesting, you know. But overall, I thought the film was pretty entertaining. I thought Miles Morales, like the look of the character, I thought was like awesome. Like the way he was designed and so on, I thought he did a good job on that, you know. Being that I think he's like kind of like mixed with like a Latino and like African American, I think that's kind of cool, you know, the way they developed him, you know. It's awesome, you know. But like I say, at times now, the film kind of drags, you know. Like whenever I felt like whenever he's with like the Peter Parker version of Spider-Man, I feel like it was kind of like something like this was off there, and it's not like boring or anything like that. You know, I just feel like it was just something kind of like off there. It didn't really kick, you know, but their chemistry is pretty good. But I feel like those were like the moments where it seemed like it was kind of like dragging, you know. But whenever Miles is like alone, or with like other characters in the story and so on, I thought it was like very awesome. Like whenever he's like on a run or like chasing or just doing like his own thing, I thought it was superb there, you know. I thought he did a good job on that. I even thought like May Parker, when she showed up, I thought that was pretty good too as well. And I am interested in the idea of this like multiverse that they are calling it. I do think that's kind of cool, you know, the concept that they have, you know, with that, with this being like these different like versions of like Spider-Man and so on. I think that's awesome. Also like how the film gives like various shouts out to like the Spider-Man films, like with Tobey Maguire, you know. I think that's kind of cool, like some of the scenes that were in those films. You know, they actually have them in this film, but they're like an animated form. I think that's kind of awesome. They give like callbacks to those kind of films, you know. And the different like Spider characters in the film, like I think Spider-Ham, Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Gwen, you know, and so on. Even the one called I think Penny Parker with like the robotic, because I didn't know that one too well, but like the robotic suit. I wasn't too familiar with that, but I know like Spider-Ham, I know the Spider-Gwen, you know, I know them, you know, Spider-Man Noir. I'm familiar with those characters, but I wasn't too familiar with like the actual like robotic version. Penny Parker, she's like an Asian girl, you know, I wasn't too familiar with that one. But I thought all those were pretty cool. But I feel like their screen time was kind of like limited, you know, it wasn't really like about them, you know, but they were there, you know. And Stan Lee makes like the usual like cameo appearance as well. And I know this is one of his like final like film roles too as well. You know, he makes like an appearance, but I'm not gonna really touch on what it was. Now the film does have like Easter eggs and it has like a shout out to what, you know, a possible sequel to this film, which I think would be a cool idea, you know, with like another Spider-Man character, you know. But I'm not gonna go into all that. But overall, I thought this was, I feel like it was kind of, you know, it was entertaining, like I said, but at the same time, you know, I felt like it was kind of a letdown, but it was still pretty cool and it's like fun to watch, you know, and I think it can be kind of hard on your eyes, you know, but I would definitely recommend it, you know. But yeah, in the end of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I'm giving this a B-. I kind of want to give it a C, but I'm just going to give it a B-. And I would definitely recommend it for like fans with like the Miles Morales version of the character, you know, or just like a Marvel like Spider-Man, like, you know, films or anything like that in general, you know. But yeah, I'm giving this a B-. Please leave a comment and subscribe too as well.